So we have 8 players. So let's see if anybody else joins us. Looks like maybe a couple of new names. All right, we have 9 people. I think that's what we had last time. So again, to answer quickly, although you want to answer correctly, and this all has to do with retention interviews. You have 20 seconds, but you don't need that long. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. First question, true or false? Retention interviews are proactive versus reactive. Okay, we have 9 answers. Most of you got it right. Yeah, the idea with a retention interview is that we are getting a sense of what's going on before the bad news happens. So exit interviews tend to be reactive. People are already out the door or walking out the door, kind of too late to do much about it. The good news with retention interviews is we get a handle on things before we get a resignation. So then we actually have a chance to implement some kind of a plan that hopefully will make a difference. We're not going to be able to salvage every relationship, but many times we can. And even those where people aren't planning to leave, we can actually enhance the relationship as well. Okay, so let's see who is at the top right now. So Danielle, good for you, 980 points, but others are not too far behind, and we have a total of 5 questions today, so the lead frequently does change. Okay, question number 2 is a multiple choice question. What is not a reason for doing retention interviews? Creating a personalized plan, reducing turnover, focuses on performance problems, or action-oriented? Okay, so we get a number of answers here, but the reason to not do it is we're not talking about performance problems here. Some of that could potentially come up. What we're really looking at is to understand what factors are important to the employee in their overall satisfaction, engagement, and happiness with their job. So sometimes, and we'll get to this performance thing later on, but it's not so much part of the performance appraisal, and in fact, I would suggest that they're not associated at all. And maybe you do performance appraisals at the beginning of the year and you do these retention interviews at the middle of the year, something like that. But what they will do is they will create a personalized plan. I'm going to be talking to you individually, figure out what's important to you, and we're going to try and create a plan that makes sense specifically for you. Will it reduce turnover? Yes, that's the goal here. So that is a reason to do retention interviews, is to have an impact on turnover. And number 2, it's more than just talking and having nice, warm, and fuzzy discussions with people, which are nice, but they are action-oriented. The idea here is that we are going to come up with a plan and actually do something and have action. Okay, so we had 3 people. Multiple choice are always a little bit tougher, but let's see who is at the top of the leaderboard now. Danielle still is. But no guarantee that it will stay that way. The next question is a true and false question. So here we go. Retention interviews empower and involve employees. True or false? People answering the questions quickly, I see. Perfect. 100%, way to go. Yes, the idea is that we're going to talk to the employee. We're going to ask them what they want, what they think, what is important to them. So we're going to involve them, and then we are also going to ask them, and what's going to make a difference to you? So we involve them in the decision-making process. Now, it's not ultimately their decision about what you're going to do, but they have something invested in it. And that in and of itself, this idea of giving people control, independence, autonomy, this empowering of people, guess what? That engages people. They're great. Most people really love the idea that you're going to take the time to sit down and talk to them. So great, everybody did really well with that. So let's see who's at the top of the leaderboard. Danielle, you're still there, but it could change. Now this next one, maybe a slightly bit of a trick question, but it is also a multiple choice. So we'll just go through. What are the reasons to use retention interviews? Build relationships, trust, support development, hold the supervisors accountable for retention, and to create a targeted and specific plan. Okay, well, good news. Everybody got it right. All these answers are true. So the beauty, we've already talked about building relationships, trust, respect. It's just great for getting employees and their supervisors closer together. It frequently is about developing employees. It is a good way to hold the supervisors accountable. We've talked about that. And we've already talked multiple times about creating some kind of a plan. Okay, we have, let's see if Danielle is still there or not. Oh no, Danielle has fallen off a bit. So Gazzello must have been very quick on the draw. We have one last question. It's kind of anybody's game at this point. It's true and false. The quick one is likely to get it right. I'll tell you the question initially is true or false. Retention interviews do not or don't require coaching and mentoring skills. Is that true? Retention interviews don't require mentoring skills, coaching and mentoring, true or false? Here's our quick on the draw today. It's kind of okay, almost everybody got that right. Yes, that's right. We haven't really talked about this, but we are sitting down, we're talking to the employee, we're listening to them, we're going to ask open-ended questions. We're going to get to that here in just a little bit. And you don't always know the direction that these discussions are going to go. They need to be kind of open-ended because every individual has their own interests and their own direction and their own perceptions. And so as supervisors, that's kind of the tricky part, is for us to be able to adapt to that individual and to the situation. We'll talk more of that as we go on. Okay, now this is the last question, so let's see who is at the very top. And Shelby, wow, Shelby, it was a dark horse. She came out from behind. Way to go, 4,237 points. But Danielle and Gazella are both in the running. And everybody is a winner because you participated. So thank you for that. Well, let's go back to our PowerPoint. This is the last of our little Kahoot games for today. Okay, so with this, is there a downside? In a way, I suppose there is. If you're going to do retention interviews, it does take commitment. It takes time, it takes energy, it takes focus. You have to work the process, work the plan. And the other big piece to this is it is very employee-oriented. It's kind of a servant leadership kind of a thing. And if you don't want what's best for the employee and you're not willing to allocate some resources, time, and potentially some money towards the development, the overall satisfaction, engagement of your employees, you're going to have a tough time with this. So if you need to be committed to your employees. Now, that's not saying that we just turn the process over to them. In fact, whatever we come up with, it has to make sense for the employee and for the company as well. But it does take a commitment, and you're going to sit down, you're going to be talking to people, and it does take some time. And many times we see that there's resistance from supervisors to do performance appraisals, although this can be wrapped in to a certain extent. To a large extent, what we're doing, we're sitting down and checking in with our employees and finding out how things are going with them. That's very much a part of performance management. We're just not going to be rating people in some way on whether they're high, medium, or low. And so we're going to be developing these plans, and they require resources. Now, I had one organization, they didn't have a lot of resources. So what they did is they initially did these retention interviews with everybody. They didn't make